We have a new tropical storm in the Atlantic basin that is forecast to become a potent hurricane and head towards the Windward Islands. Hello, I'm Mike Nasa with this 11 p.m. Friday night update on the tropics. Taking a look out there, there is Tropical Storm Beryl sitting right in the central Atlantic, strengthening, forecast unfortunately to become a hurricane before making landfall in the Windward Islands and then heading in the general direction of Jamaica over the next 120 hours. We also have an invest area in the western Caribbean Sea that has a 40% chance of becoming a tropical depression or a tropical storm in the Bay of Campeche headed towards Mexico. And we have another wave behind Tropical Storm Beryl that looks like it could develop and be a threat to the islands as well down the road. Quite a lot to talk about for the 28th of June. Now here's the latest on Tropical Storm Beryl as of 11 p.m. Atlantic time. She was at 9.3 north, 43.6 west, moving straight west at 18 miles per hour, and the maximum sustained winds are 40 miles per hour with the barometric pressure estimated to be 1,006 millibars. Now, we don't have any watches or warnings out for the islands yet, but that will occur probably sometime Saturday, and there'll probably be hurricane watches or even hurricane warnings for areas there from, say, Martinique southward. If you're in Barbados, St. Vincent, St. Lucia, the Grenadines, Grenada, Trinidad, Tobago, you guys need to be most on alert as this system moves to the west. It looks like sometime Sunday night through Monday, it would move through the islands as a hurricane, at least a Category 1, and then strengthen further into a Category 2 hurricane as it moves south of the Dominican Republic Tuesday in the general direction of the island nation of Jamaica on Wednesday. This could be a serious threat, especially for early July. Now here's a look at the infrared satellite, and again, the system is bursting. It's not extremely well organized. It's only a low-end tropical storm, but that looks pretty good for a low-end tropical storm. I've seen a lot of low-end tropical storms look a lot worse. Heck, I've seen hurricanes look worse than this. It has outflow here to the north, and it does look like it's starting to vent a little on the southern side. As this convection blows up, we will see it intensify into a stronger tropical storm and then a hurricane as it continues to move underneath a ridge of high pressure towards the west. Again, it looks like upper-level conditions will be favorable for development, and the water temperatures are obviously very, very warm, so we could have a serious threat here for the Caribbean. Now, this is the HWRF model, and I wanted to show you how the system progresses. This is as of the 18Z run Friday, and it shows our system moving on off towards the west, and then eventually towards the west-northwest, making landfall directly over St. Vincent, and then continuing into the Caribbean Sea after that. And if you look at the barometric pressure, it's getting down there into the 950s, and it becomes a powerful Category 3 or 4 hurricane moving between Haiti and Jamaica and Cuba, very close to where Hurricane Dennis moved back in July 2005. The year that I turned 17, we had two major hurricanes in July. One was Category 4 Hurricane Dennis, slammed into Cuba near Cienfuegos, and then ended up making landfall in the Florida Panhandle as a major Category 3. And then we had Hurricane Emily, a Category 5, move south of Jamaica, and it slammed into the Yucatan as a Category 4. Hopefully that doesn't happen with Beryl, but it looks like we could be dealing with a potent hurricane. These are the European ensembles, which show a powerful hurricane moving through the Caribbean Sea in the general direction of Jamaica, but again, some want to turn it more north, some want to keep it more west. Right now, the focus should be on the Windward Islands, and even up here in the Leeward Islands and the U.S. Virgin Islands, you guys have to keep an eye out, obviously. If we look in the longer range, it's a little bit uncertain. Some weaken it and head it towards the Yucatan, some keep it strong and headed in that direction, some keep it over Cuba and Hispaniola and bring it into the Gulf of Mexico, and then some take it over the Bahamas towards Florida. So again, that's just too far out. I would say up to this point is where they're in pretty good agreement, and that is squarely through the Windward Islands. The GFS ensembles, not too much different. They show a hurricane moving through the Windward Islands, a powerful hurricane as it moves into the central Caribbean Sea, and then a lot of them weaken it as it gets into maybe some upper-level wind shear, but nevertheless, that's far out. So again, up to this point, we seem to be in pretty good agreement with the models that it is going to go squarely through Windward Islands. Now, there's good news and there's bad news. The good news is you have plenty of time. It's still 1,100 miles away from the islands, even Barbados. It is a very long way away from you. However, the bad news is it's headed straight for you, and it could be a potent hurricane by the time it gets there. Now, where exactly it moves through right now is just too early to say, although these are the islands I'd be most concerned about. St. Lucia, St. Vincent, the Grenadines, Grenada, Trinidad and Tobago, and Barbados. These are the islands of most concern, especially right now, St. Vincent. But again, it's still too early. Nevertheless, if you're in those islands, start to look at your hurricane plans, what you would do in case Beryl heads your way. Now, we do know rainfall is going to be a problem too. Now, the good news is as it moves through the islands, it looks like it's going to be moving at a pretty quick pace. So we shouldn't have any long, drawn-out rain, but still 4 to 6, 6 to 8 inches in areas there of the Grenadines and the Windwards. But the bad news is that, yeah, it might be moving fast, but it could be a strengthening hurricane. And so this could be more of a wind event than a rain event, but it's just too early to tell. Here's the key messages for Tropical Storm Beryl. Number 1, it is expected to strengthen and be a hurricane when it reaches the Windward Islands late Sunday night or Monday, bringing a risk of heavy rain, hurricane-force winds, dangerous storm surge, and waves. Number 2, hurricane and tropical storm watches will likely be required for portions of the Windward and the southern Leeward Islands early Saturday. Number 3, interests in the Central and Western Caribbean should monitor the progress of this system. You should be reminded that there are large uncertainties at days 4 and 5, and don't focus on the specific details of the track or intensity. Right now, the forecast is a Category 2 hurricane headed up towards Jamaica, but some of the computer models, like I showed, make this a major hurricane, a Category 3 or even a Category 4. Let's hope it doesn't get that intense, but you got to be ready for it just in case. And there's all the information in Spanish. Now, the pronunciation of this storm, this is an interesting one. I always pronounce the name Beryl, like Milton Berle. And I've heard people with this name who pronounce it Beryl. But many people and this pronunciation guide say it should be pronounced as Beryl. So I look at the pronunciation guide from the Hurricane Center website, it says Beryl, but I do recall in 2006 when we used this name list every 6 years, we had a tropical storm Beryl, and Stacy Stewart, forecaster from the Hurricane Center, I met him and interviewed him once, great guy. He said the correct pronunciation of tropical storm Beryl is Beryl, just like the last name of Milton Berle. So if you hear me during these videos the next few days call it Beryl or Beryl, you know, you say potato, I say potato, it's the same thing. Here is the Atlantic, and again, besides Tropical Storm Beryl, we have two systems. We have Invest 94L still there by the Western Caribbean and the Yucatan. 40% chance that when it emerges over the Bay of Campeche Saturday night or early Sunday, we could see development, we could have a tropical depression or even a tropical storm before it moves in over Mexico. And then we have the wave behind Beryl, and that has a 40% chance over the next week. Environmental conditions are conducive for additional development, and that should head towards the islands as well. Now, I did want to mention the National Hurricane Center in their 11 p.m. Friday night discussion on Beryl does say Beryl is one of only a few storms in history that have formed over the central or eastern Atlantic this early in the year. It's happened before, but it doesn't happen certainly every year. And they also mention atmospheric conditions are atypical for this time of year. They're fairly favorable for strengthening. So this is kind of what you'd expect more in August than in late June, and that's what's so troubling. Here's our system in the Western Caribbean. Again, there is some thunderstorm activity blowing up over the Yucatan. This should move towards the west and west-northwest. We could see a named storm out of it. We'll wait and see. We did see Alberto a week or so ago develop in that area. And then this is the model guidance, again, taking it generally up in that direction. The GFS doing the same thing as the Euro, moving it west into Veracruz, that area there of Mexico. And then our wave that we're watching behind, ooh, that's a cool image. Look at that, blood red. There's Beryl on the left side of the screen, looking very well organized for a minimal tropical storm. But this is the wave, this big blob that moved out. This is the area we're watching next. And don't be surprised if this becomes a tropical storm or, dare I even say, another hurricane headed towards the Caribbean islands. So what we thought would be a very busy Atlantic hurricane season ain't messing around right now, as we have a tropical storm, the second of the year, forecast to become a powerful hurricane, go squarely through the Windward Islands and head towards Jamaica, with more systems brewing behind it. I'm Mike Nasa with the latest on Tropical Storm Beryl. Stay tuned to this YouTube channel for further updates.